Welcome to Team More Wine, sir, the Gorilla Cast for Boomtron's Optionated. I'm Elena. With me is Rachel. Like any good podcast, we're going to start this one with a ramble. Rachel, tell me about meeting Jon Snow.
Okay, if you insist. So we had to get to Comic-Con very early because they were giving out tickets to this autographing session that hadn't been very well publicized as far as we could tell because we were obsessing over it a lot. And so we get our asses there at 6:30 in the morning. And this is the day after we had a little Game of Thrones meetup, so we were tired. But we ended up, getting tickets to this autograph session, which actually turned out to be a special autographing session, separate from the one that was advertised. So instead of going and standing in line in the autograph area to hopefully get them to sign something, this was a one-on-one session where you you get to go in a room by yourself. They were doing it in groups of 5, and there happened to be 4 of us and then one very brave guy who decided to come in with us, even though we had been, we were in line for an hour just to make sure that we got in near the beginning of the line because, of course, they give away more spots than they have time to get through in an hour.
Right.
And we were, just being assholes the whole time as the trolly Game of Thrones fans that we are. We do it with love. So we go in and, it's we're waiting for our turn, and the lady's opening the door, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna go in this room and I'm gonna see Jon Snow. I'm like, all right, be cool. You don't give a shit. So the plan was we all had different things for him to sign, and of course this was for Silent Hill, the movie the horror movie that he has coming out.
So nothing to do with Game of Thrones whatsoever.
No, nothing to do with Game of Thrones whatsoever. And we're wearing our For the Watch shirts that have giant pictures of Ghost on them, and we're all carrying our Game of Thrones bullshit, and we're and we had asked the lady, are they gonna sign things that we bring in, or is this gonna be you get a Silent Hill poster and nothing else kind of situation? And they're like, well, you're gonna be in there one-on-one, so just ask him. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, he's a nice guy. He's not gonna say no. So we go in. And of course, there he is with his glorious curls, and we had been talking about his hair for at least an hour. And he's in there with, I'm trying to find her last name. Hold on. With his co-star, her name is Adelaide. Oh, where the hell's your name, girl? Oh, I'm in the wrong one. I looked up Silent Hill, but this is the sequel. Adelaide Clemens, I think is her name. She's a combination of a bunch of Australian actresses.
Okay.
She's super, super cute and adorable, and I really liked her skirt. But anyway, so he's sitting there, and then it was Adelaide, and then the director, Michael Bassett. And so we go straight up to Kit, and we're like, hi, okay, we brought a bunch of Game of Thrones shit. Is that okay? And he was very nice. And he was signing all this stuff. And my friend actually, Jenny that does all of the caricatures and all the T-shirts that we put all over Tumblr, she gives him a caricature of him, and he got really excited. And then she had little business cards to give out for anybody that liked the T-shirts or anything. And she pulled out one that was an Egret caricature, and of course, supposedly he's dating Rose, and he got kind of oh, can I have this? And we were like, sure, take it. So that was cute. And I, of course, went last because I had the trolliest request. I wanted him to sign a page in Dance with Dragons in which something may or may not terribly bad happen to him.
See, you spoilered this on your Tumblr, and I read the page, but I was like,
oh,
well,
God!
Knowing George Martin, this doesn't mean anything. I mean, Bran got pushed out of a tower and he didn't die. So is this Jon Snow's death scene, or is it just more bad shit happens to Jon Snow?
So. And we might never know because who knows if Winds of Winter will ever come out. But
exactly.
So I was like, I'm going to have him sign this page. And, we were all like, oh, I don't think he's read it, because sometimes he says, oh, I've read this. Or sometimes he said, oh, I haven't read this far. I'm trying to stay behind. I read, So I was like, okay. So I put a little Post-it over the page. And I was like, don't read it if you haven't read it. I just want you to sign this page. You don't have to put anything. And he takes it from me. He goes, no, I've heard a few things. And I was like, oh, good. And then Michael Bassett leans over Adelaide because he's sitting farthest away. And he goes, that's the page where you die. And I was So, we're at this point, there's 5 of us in there, and it's been a couple minutes, and it's all Game of Thrones. Meanwhile, Michael Bassett's like, check your Game of Thrones at the door, ladies. And we're like, oh yeah, that's Silent Hill. We totally love Silent Hill. We're totally going to go see it. And so we kind of took pity on them and took the posters and had Adelaide and Michael sign them. But when I got to Michael, since I was last, I was like, hey, dude, I was just kind of like, hey, dude, do you want us just out of here? Or are you going to sign them? And he looks at me and he goes, well, I'm fucking here, aren't I? And he writes his name really big on the poster with an arrow all the way down the side of the poster pointing to his name underneath director. And I was like, you know what, Michael Bassett, you're my favorite person. You are a snarky bastard just like us. So we immediately made him an honorary member of Ladies of Ice and Fire. And that is my story of meeting Kit Harington, who is very, very, very pretty.
Better in person than on screen?
Yeah, actually, kind of, yeah.
Wow.
Trying to be a grown-up about that, but yeah.
But yeah. Oh. Well, the cons you miss when you're old and lame and don't have vacation time because you just switched jobs.
Oh, yeah. It was kind of funny because this was something that we kind of decided like 2 days before it happened, and we were just going to even get a ticket, and it ended up being one of the better parts. It's pretty funny, though, to be like, hey, I remember when we met Kit Harington? Remember when we went to a room alone with Kit Harington? And of course, because he took that little business card with the caricature of Ygritte on it, now I'm telling Jenny to tell everybody that Jon Snow has her deets. He took her deets.
Nice.
And she's like, I can't tell that. That's not true.
But it is.
I'm like, yeah, man, he tells you all the time. He never stops. It's really annoying. So everyone go see Silent Hill because they were good sports about us bringing in all of our Game of Thrones bullshit. And there were actually people cosplaying, but they were behind us, which I think is good because by the time the cosplayers got in, I'm sure Phil had like lost his mind by then. He's just like, oh.
Yeah. He was like, you know what? I have to hope that some of them actually take pity on me and go see my movie. Or that they're so in love with Kit Harington, they'll see a movie just because he's in it, so fuck it, bring him on.
Right, exactly. And we did go to the panel afterwards to hear more about Silent Hill and to snark on Michael a little bit more. So, that's my Kit Harington story.
All right, well, thank you for the digression. So that's going to be the high point, the only point of this discussion where we have anything nice to say. Because today, what we're here to talk about is the CW's Beauty and the Beast, which obviously Beauty and the Beast is a classic fairy tale. I think that's basically what this is optioning, but
no,
you know a little bit more about what you like to call, what is it, Lion and Shoulder Pads in Love? So tell me more about that.
Shoulder Pads in Love. Lion Man and Shoulder Pads in Love. And this is a great segue. Was actually written and created by George R.R. Martin. And it aired on CBS. It had Linda Hamilton in it and Ron Perlman. Yeah, Hellboy. Ron Perlman, right?
I can look it up. You go on. Keep talking.
Okay. And anyway, so it was Ron Perlman plays the Beast, who is an actual lion man who lives in the sewers of New York. And Linda Hamilton is Catherine Chandler. I think she's a DA in New York. He rescues her a few times and creeps on her and stares at her and stalks her, and like all of the tension in this series is that he is like a werepanther, like lion man, and she's a person, and they want a bone and they can't because he has a barbed penis or something. So yeah, so that's like the tension, right? Where he like stares at her while she sleeps and eats and washes her dishes. He like sits on the roof across from her apartment. And sometimes he brings her down to the sewers where Roy Dotrice is, and the sewers is actually a really great place that you want to live. Everyone dresses like they're at a Renaissance fair. There are libraries and schools and lots of candlelight, and that's the one that they are actually remaking.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So, and the name of that one was probably
Beauty and the
not Beauty and the Beast.
No,
okay,
it's Beauty and the Beast.
It's probably not officially Lion Man and Shoulder Pads, but you never know.
Lion Man and Shoulder Pads in Love is like the best 3-season terrible show that you can watch in a month, like I did.
Yeah, I've seen your tweets about it many times.
Yeah.
No, like okay, so that's good background, and that was. here's the thing. Was that on in like the late 80s, early
Yeah.
90s?
Yes.
Okay, because I feel like I saw a couple episodes and I've been really struggling to remember. I'm like, I don't know. I think there's like woods and a cave involved, but then I'm like, maybe it's Central Park. I don't know. Like seriously, this was from the time I grew up under a rock. I probably watched it on our little like 10-inch black and white TV that got about 3 channels, and it was like one of the first TV shows I discovered, and I was probably like, ooh, I bet this is cool because it's about Beauty and the Beast, and I'm like, no, this is not cool. This is boring and set in a city I will never go to, and I'm turning it off.
Oh, see, I liked it, but I really like bad stuff.
But did you like it when you were like 8 years old?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
When I was 8 years old, I liked it unironically. I liked it. I legitimately liked it. I was like, right, lineman in the sewers, that's her boyfriend, that's my boyfriend. I think it lies at the heart of why I love the Hellboy movies so much, besides my love for Hellboy. But, like, come on. A guy in prosthetics who loves you?
It's below ground. I mean, what's not to like?
Yeah, and if you ever get in trouble, he rides on top of the subway and gets to you really fast. And he's always there with his claws and his thigh-high booties and his 80s and his, like, there's, like, always mist. There's always mist, and at one point I think there's like a boat, like, you know, like Phantom of the Opera style, like on a gondola in the sewer. It's very
wow.
So anyway, CW decided to remake that with Lana Turner and some guy with a scratch on his cheek.
Yeah, I was not real impressed with the bestiality here. I was
like, they keep talking, but she's like, "What are you?" And I'm like, "A dude." A hot dude in jeans and a t-shirt? Like, what the hell? He doesn't even live in the sewer. He lives in a loft.
Yeah, it's like this crazy post-industrial chemical plant with like the worst security ever. Like, I don't know, that was what hit me. Like, she just keeps, rolling in at will, like, hey guys, I'm back. What's up? Y'all keep telling me to leave, and I just keep walking in. So, nobody thought there was a chain on the door. I mean,
yeah. So Lana Turner isn't a DA anymore. She's a detective, even though she's apparently 22 years old, and there are no 22-year-old detectives. But whatever.
Right. And the ones that are working vice. Like, at her age, she needs to be out on a street corner, like taking unsuspecting Johns, not
Instead, her and her super hot partner just kind of like wander around, not doing any detecting at all. They're more like assumptives. They just assume shit that isn't true and wander around.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And I have to be honest, like, this show, I know it's a show on the CW. I know it's a show based on Beauty and the Beast. I know it's a show that involves an illegal military experiment that resulted in a man who turns into a beast when he gets a lot of adrenaline going, and that's why they can't have sex in this one. Anyway, like, I get that, but at the same time, this show it set off so many things in my whole, like, civil libertarian, you can't do that as a, like, police person thing. Like, she was just shitting all over, like, all of the laws. Like,
well, hey, in their defense, New York cops shit all over the laws every day.
Look, I mean, I think most cops shit all over the laws every day. I'm just saying, like, this was supposed to be a character that we sympathize with, and she's doing it right along with the rest of them. So to me, I'm like, no, this is a show about the blue curtain. Like, that's what this show is about. Like, fuck Beauty and the Beast and fuck the Beast. It's about the Iron Curtain and how we're supposed to suddenly, like, think it's okay that this cute little cop does all of these illegal, like, things. No.
Yeah. Well, okay, so, the major plot is that she's a waitress going to law school, and her mom comes to pick her up from work, and these guys show up and shoot her mother, and she runs into the forest, and the Beast Man saves her. And then, 8 years later, she's a detective in New York, and while she's investigating the stupid murder of this fashion person, she comes across this Beast Man again. And somehow
because his DNA was his fingerprints and DNA were at the crime scene.
This is the part where I get a little lost. She calls about the DNA and wants to meet a dude, and he meets her on a subway platform.
Oh, I think I understood what that point was.
I'm like, okay, who meets anybody on a subway platform, and why are they trying to kill her, and why isn't there trash in the subway tracks or rats?
Right. Well, to the first point, I think that was like she was meeting somebody under the table, again with the illegal cop activities that I couldn't stand. Like I think that was somebody supposedly from the FBI or like somewhere besides NYPD that she was giving evidence to, so they couldn't meet at the station because it was illegal for her to give that to him.
Okay.
That's what that was.
But why did him and then all the random people on the subway platform try to kill her?
Because they were military and in on this, or like high level clearance, like CIA, FBI
okay,
guys.
So we're back to the experimenting on the hot man in Afghanistan.
Right.
Okay.
In Afghanistan, yeah. So because he was a military secret and like anything with his profile is probably tagged in one of their like high clearance databases, and that's who she called. They were like, she knows something. She must die.
Right. Okay. I understand now. And I like that him being a military secret Jekyll Hyde Hulk kind of thing isn't enough. He also has to be a former prodigy doctor with a brother who died in the 9/11 tower.
Oh, not one brother.
Attack.
Two brothers.
Two brothers? I thought it was just one.
I feel like there was a point where they said
like
his
the fact that they brought that
brothers-
into this poor taste anyways. Like,
agreed.
What is the point of that? Like,
yeah.
They need to just forget about that. When the episode 2 needs to hit up and they're going to be like, what? What brother? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we never need to see any footage from the towers. That never needs to be roped for sympathy. Like, nope.
Like, let's just leave that out. So, okay, so she's, kind of a bad actress, and she kind of like husky voices her way around the script, saying things like, what are you? And who is the killer? There, she
touching people really intimately when she doesn't know them at all.
Yeah. So she goes to the loft, right? And he's got this weird zany roommate who happens to be like some chemist who's doing chemical. I don't even know. Like,
yeah, like his roommate's like biochemistry professor, and so obviously he's using his friend as the basis for some research paper in order to get tenure at his university. So like,
yeah,
that's how
right,
that's it.
Right, yeah. So she breaks into the loft like a second time and then finds like the Beast's creepy stash of pictures of her, and then figures out that he's the Beast that saved her when she was younger. And then immediately they're like in love and thrusting their pelvises at each other, and
again with the intimate touches to people you barely know.
Yeah, and then they did this close up on his face where you got to really see the really stupid, barely legible scar on his face, and it's clearly like puttied onto his skin. It's like you can see the fingerprints of like the guy who did the makeup, it's just like pushed on there, and I'm like, what? I don't know. I feel like somebody interviewed George Martin, and this was before the show. I don't even know how old this interview is. It was like on a red carpet thing, and they asked him about it, and he's like, yeah, I know it's based on the show that I did, but I don't think it has anything to do with anything, and not like, it's like my show was really bad, but this show's going to be so bad that stop talking to me about it.
I refuse to acknowledge that this derivates from my show. Derives from.
Well, here's the thing, like, I was really into this sort of like, yeah, Catman sex. Like, let's do it. Let's go there. Let's make people uncomfortable by being attracted to some sort of xenomorph, right?
Yeah.
No. He's just like a hot model, former doctor, government experiment with a scratch on his cheek. And somehow the scratch makes him not human anymore. Although when he, like, rages out, he does kind of have, like, some CGI nostril flare.
Yeah, no, here's what happens. Like, he's totally he's totally normal except with a scar, but that's his battle scar from when the military tried to kill him and he survived it. So the scar has nothing to do with him being a beast. The only time he turns into a beast is when he's got adrenaline going, and then he turns into, wait for it, man-bear pig. Like, that was the only thing I could think every time he did his little beast thing. I was like, man-bear pig! Someone tell Al Gore, it's real, it exists. Oh my god. So it's basically the beast is the, Mr. Hyde thing. He's not actually a beast.
Yeah, it's not, and that's kind of annoying because he can walk around and pass for a dude, right? Whereas Vincent of the original incarnation could not walk around. That was his, like, he was in a actual prison that he, he couldn't leave. He couldn't go out and be with Catherine. He was
There was a reason he lived in the
super,
sewers.
yeah, he was a sewer cat man, and now he's just like a former model who kind of like has like, you know, a little bit of roid rage every once in a while,
Exactly.
which is
He's just like really, you know, reclusive and paranoid.
yeah, everybody else's ex-boyfriend. Like he's just not interesting at all. It makes me, I feel like they missed, I feel like they really missed out on they could have done something really great where he is both disgusting and repellent and also like really kind of like at a very base level, like attractive.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, the whole point of, you know, the story of Beauty and the Beast is kind of the transformative power of love. And it's not, you don't have to have a beast who starts out completely like uncouth the way like the, you know, storybook and Disney version is. Like you could have somebody that's simply like uncouth to look at because, you know what, we make a lot of assumptions about people, and especially people who are a little bit fucked up looking. And it's, you know, it's part of human nature to just kind of recoil from the other and so you know, he could be like this ex-military, you know, guy who saved his entire team at the, you know, risk of his own life, and this doctor and whatever you need to make him to like say this is a really fucking bang up dude, and then have him be all totally fucked up looking and bestial, and that's going to like be enough that she has to come to know his character and fall in love with his character to like overcome his bestiality. Like honestly, I didn't mind the idea of the premise. I actually, Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite fairy tales. I like the idea. You're right, it could have been something really cool, and instead they kind of went Vampire Diaries with it. Well,
but
everybody has to be super
Diaries
hot.
Better
and
than this trap, okay? Don't you snark on my lovely show.
Well, because Vampire Diaries has Damon, who's actually kind of like villainous in his character and unapologetic about it. So he's like the devil, like literally.
Right,
like, he's
like
the
devil
completely
you
hot
get to know. He's the
on the
devil,
outside and the devil on and like mean on the inside. And this guy's supposed to be like horrible on the outside and like wonderful on the inside. And they're like, well, we're just going to scar him up a little bit.
Right, and there's two ways to go about it, right? There's the classic Beauty and the Beast story in which the person is transformed, like, you know, he might, and then there's the way that the George Martin one reimagined it, in which no matter how much, like, he's transformed for you, but he's not like suddenly made beautiful.
Right.
And I always thought that that's why I liked maybe like Phantom of the Opera, because he is sort of repellent but also attractive, and you feel sorry for him, but you also kind of hate him because he's kind of so sad.
Right.
He plays with that emotion, whereas this Vincent dude living in a thing, kind of mad about the government and like on the run because the government wants to kill him. It's very muddled, and he's just kind of whiny. He's whiny.
Yeah, he's not naturally sympathetic. He's kind of a poos.
Yeah. I don't care how many times he saves a girl from a really disturbingly clean subway track.
I know. Like, I've been to New York on 2 occasions, and I've spent one of them riding around the subways. That's like the number one activity of my week in New York, was like more time on the subways than anywhere else. What I can tell you about the subways is that they're a lot nastier than that, and a lot darker than that, and the trains go a lot faster than that. And her whole like, oh, I'm running in front of the train, she was dead after the second step, because that train doesn't fuck around. Like, it was done. Well, that was way too close.
She falls into the track, right? And I was watching it with some girlfriends, and we were all like, so where's the urine and the garbage and the rats and like the stuff that
and the needles
you don't even know what it is anymore. Where's all that bullshit? She's just like laying on like pristine, like there's not even any brake dust. It's just, you know, whatever. It's beautiful. I'll just stay here for a while and watch you kill these people. And that's also another thing. He fucking killed those people. And she even said, I watched you kill them. It doesn't bother her. She's a cop. She turned some guy in for having weed in his pocket, but some dude that kills people outright.
No, here's the thing. Like, the whole thing with the weed, and this is what was so important about it. The first line she says to him is like, I don't care if you smoke weed. She doesn't give a shit about the actual, like, law. She's not a principled person. She uses the law as it benefits her. So in that case, when he pissed her off, she, like, narcs on him, like, hey, arrest him. He's got marijuana, you know? And then when, like, some guy murders people, granted, it was like self-defense, and he could have gotten off had there been a trial, and she was a cop and, would have testified for him and la. At the same time, she doesn't give a shit about the rule of law that says, hey, 3 people just died, or 2 people, whatever, just died, and, we are supposed to investigate this impartially and like have a trial and all that, like shit, because it benefits her not to notice and not to care. Like she's completely like self-serving, and that's just like the worst kind of person to be enforcing the law, because she can't do it impartially. You know what? Maybe this is a lot deeper than we gave it credit for, and this is, like about character, not looks, and that's why they made him pretty, so that you wouldn't be fooled.
Maybe, yeah. I like it better if she's the beast and he's the one that has to sort of bring her to a place in which her inside matches her exterior.
That would be interesting.
Beautiful, blow-dried exterior. But yeah, I wasn't super impressed. It's actually been kind of a disappointing season for me for things. I watched Arrow, which is the adaptation of, Green Arrow. That was just fucking awful. A lot of people are liking it because it's dark and Nolan-esque, but I think what people don't understand is that Ollie, the Green Arrow, he occupies the same sort of space as Batman, and that they're kind of identical in setup, but Ollie believes in the system. He doesn't, he helps the system, he allies himself with cops. He's kind of like the lighter, happier Batman, and they just kind of threw that all away and made him run around and, killing people in the street. So,
well, wait, he actually kills people? Because I have yet to see Batman actually kill anybody. So, dude, I already like this guy better in the Nolan Batman verse.
The fight scenes are pretty good, and I only watched it because of that, the scene. I wanted the extended salmon ladder or whatever they're called with that thing. That was awesome. I kind of rewound that and watched that again. But it wasn't good. The people in it wasn't good. I don't know what they're going to do with Black Canary. So these are characters that I enjoy. I like the Beauty and the Beast, myth as well. I'm actually kind of scared to admit that I'm enjoying the Beauty and the Beast arc on Once Upon a Time. Don't hate that.
Look, is Once Upon a Time good? Because here's the thing, I watched the premiere in the first episode, and I couldn't do it. And like that's in my wheelhouse, as they like to say on The Voice, which is what I've gotten sucked into this season. But like I should love it, and I couldn't do it because it.
You know what it is? Know. You have to kind of be like, I'm gonna sit down and watch some live action Disney fanfic.
But the thing is, it wasn't, I don't know, maybe it wasn't Disney enough, or maybe it
gets there. I think it's the first like 3 or 4 episodes are kind of like, but then if you just push through, you get stuck in trying to figure out who everybody is. Like that's the only reason you watch every episode. It's like you want to figure out what character everybody represents and then how they interact. And they do a good job of sort of giving you bits and pieces and letting you put together clues to figure out who is who. Some people they tell you outright, obviously, like Snow White, Mulan, and all those people.
Right.
But yeah, that's the only reason I watch is that and obviously the Rumpelstiltskin / Beast character is pretty amazing.
Yeah. See, I might have to give it another shot because like I have people at work that watch it and that are really into it, and I felt like I should have liked it, and I couldn't, and maybe it was
embarrassed to be watching it. I'm not gonna lie. Like whenever I watch it alone. I can't if Joey comes home, I'm like, okay, I'm turning this off because I can't.
Look, I have to watch Castle by myself, like, so I totally understand.
Yeah, like there are episodes where you're going to be like, I'm bored, I'm going to get up and vacuum, I'm going to go do things, and you come back and you're like, oh, I don't care if I missed that, that's fine. Like,
I'm going to sew 100, like, clay tiles to a piece of velvet.
Yes, you are. Back to Game of Thrones. It's there. It weaves in and out of our lives.
Yes.
So I don't know. Are you going to watch the second episode of Beauty and the Beast?
I might, just because pilots can be really rough, and I kind of want to see what the show is going to be. Because look, here's my take on it: is if it's basically trying to be Castle, which is like a buddy cop show where one of them's a cop and one of them isn't. I already watched that show, and Castle does it better. And say this about Beckett: she at least knows when she's operating outside the law, and she acknowledges that.
Yeah, I like Beckett in the later seasons. When you go back and watch earlier seasons, she's like the most annoying person in the universe. But I like her now.
Yeah, I agreed. I think that they've done a really good job of kind of softening her rough edges, either as a character or if like Castle's supposed to be softening her as a person, like then they've done it gently but like thoroughly. And now I'm like, man, I kind of almost like her better than him. Is that possible? Like, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no,
Ethan.
I know exactly. No, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly because his shtick has sort of never changed.
Yeah.
I think her character arc has she's if you go back and watch earlier episodes where she's got like the weird short hair and stuff, you're like,
Right.
oh, okay. She's definitely done different things. Like she moves differently even. She's evolved that character. Nathan Fillion is just, being Nathan Fillion. Which is great.
Awesome,
Yeah, we love that.
But it's not nuanced.
I think that's another thing. When I first started watching Castle, I didn't find the actress that plays Becca, what's her name? Stana Katic.
Katic, yeah. I don't know how you say it, but yeah.
I don't know. I only read it. I didn't find her to be very charismatic or very likable, where she has grown on me. So I wonder, because that's happening for me for Beauty and the Beast. Neither of them have any charisma at all. Like, at all. And you're right. That could be a pilot thing. That could be like a script that is just like fucking dead on arrival kind of. I mean, the lines were just
awful.
I was like, really? That's what you're going to fill the last 10 seconds with is this is going to be condos next week. Yeah, hire a new decorator. Oh, what's the definition of insanity? I was just like, what?
Yeah, it was okay. I was live blogging this. I had a note. I'm like, my thinking about this case has gotten way too uptight. Like, she almost said that line. I'm like, is this a drinking game? Like, take a drink every time they say cliche or reference something you'd rather be watching?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It was terrible. But again, maybe that's a pilot thing. Maybe with the first episode, it'll actually settle down into kind of what the show is going to be episode by episode.
Right. And whenever you have a pilot too, I think the pilots are the most worked on by the network. Like, oh, we want it to be really likable. We want it to have a really broad appeal. And in doing so, they just take away all character that it could possibly have. Exactly. Yeah, I might watch the second episode just to see.
I will watch the second episode for one reason. Two reasons.
Man, bear, pig?
The strength of the premise, and yes, to the amusement I got from Man Bear Pig.
Wow, I want that, because whenever they show Man Bear Pig, it's only like half a second or 2 seconds.
I know.
It's very Jekyll Hyde too. He's always hunched over, looking away from the camera. It's almost like they kind of didn't know what to do. Like they were like, we're gonna CGI you, don't worry. But then they got to the point where they had to CGI him, and they're like, shit, what are we gonna do? Like, I don't know. He's clearly not gonna be an '80s lion man with a beautiful mane and whiskers and he even had he was like fucking Lion-O. He had the talons on his hands, and I guess maybe that was the appeal, is you grew up on a lot of Thundercats and you were like, all right, yeah. Lion Man, let's go, let's do this. Oh, poor, that's such a good show. And even though they kill the main character, they kind of pulled
Spoiler alert.
Sorry, guys. It was on in the 80s. Spoiler alert, Vader is Luke's father. They killed. So yeah, I guess Linda Hamilton wanted to leave the show, so they killed her off in the second season. But it's great because they made her pregnant, and she had a little were-child. So that was kind of like they pulled a Bones in that they had sex, but they did it off camera. But they did it. They did it.
They did it. You know what? I give Castle, not to bring them up again, but I give props. They're not actually having sex scenes, I guess, but they clearly do it, and then they talk about doing it all the time.
Yeah,
now.
oh my god, the scene where they had their hands on each other and they're rubbing their thumbs on the backs of each other's hands and shit. I was like, okay, this is good. This is making me uncomfortable because I kind of don't want to watch them do this, but it's also, it heightens the tension, right?
Yeah. They get props for handling it well, because I was really worried. I mean, especially hearing what Bones did with it and how they kind of dropped the ball.
Oh my god, that show sucks now.
Yeah. But yeah, and also just because you never really know when the dynamic changes that much, and it goes from being this kind of friends who want to but haven't, and you all want to know but you don't want to know kind of thing. It's to actually being in a relationship. You never know if it's going to still work, or if the dynamic of them solving mysteries together, well, yeah, you kind of remind me of Hooch. Is that still going to work? But so far, so good. I've been pretty impressed.
Yeah, we'll see what they do with that. That's a good question. You know, on Beauty and the Beast, they've sort of met already. She knows exactly who he is. She knows his basic history. She's already done her stupid diary to her dead mother thing that we're going to save each other. So she's out to find what happened to him so that he can be cured.
And he's already watching her from rooftops go to parties and, like, be creep-tastic stalker
Okay,
boyfriend.
but that was the one and only homage to the original.
Look,
because that's exactly what
Can I make a confession here? That was like the one and only moment I was like, I actually feel something and kind of want to watch the second episode.
the creeping on her. But see, in the original, he creeps on her like that forever, and she doesn't know. He does it totally without her knowledge until finally he's like standing on her. He would like stand on her balcony all the time, and it would be backlit, and he would see like his crazy like lion man hair and she'd be like, "Oh, Vincent's here," and she'd like run and open the door. But he never announced himself. He would just like show up. It's pretty great. And it would be really weird because her apartment was like super pink and like weirdly 80s, and he would like come in his Renaissance gear and like sit on her bed and just be creepy. And like the way that they sort of pulled that whole like sex is in the air, but he doesn't belong here clearly, but you look weird in the sewer, and you know, like you spend the whole time watching the episode like imagining them doing it, but it makes you uncomfortable. This, not so much. I'm like, oh, they're going to do it. And I was actually surprised that they didn't have sex at the end of the pilot episode because they're so just like, oh, hey, I'm Vincent. Oh, hey, I'm Catherine. Okay, cool. Let's have sex, right? Like, that's what we're going to do.
Right. That's what modern romance is. I mean, you do it first and then decide if you can fall in love. Well, like, seriously. Okay, she goes into his apartment the second time she goes, which the first time was legitimate, like, they announced themselves as NYPD. They knocked, he let them in, he answered their questions, and then he said, you have to leave, and they left. The second time, she lies about having a warrant, because you know, A, she didn't get a warrant, and B, no fucking judge would give her a warrant.
No, she's on the phone to her partner like, hey, I got up really early and came down here to bother this guy again. Whoops.
Yeah.
And then she hangs up.
And then she doesn't even bother knocking on the door. She just, like, breaks in and starts snooping around, and so anyway, by the end of that meeting, she's like touching his face and being like, oh my gosh, you're so human. And like,
and she's already, and then by the end of the episode, she's showing up in like a crazy red dress with her boobs out to what, and she's blowing off the super hot Australian, you know, doctor dude.
Like, that's when I went off board with her when she's like, I'm not going to have sex with the hotly accented and super hot lab tech just because, like, I'm retarded. Like, no, I'm done with you, woman. What's wrong with you?
No, she wants the danger. She wants the danger of a man who it's kind of weird. I hope it doesn't get into the whole, like, I love my boyfriend that beats me kind of thing, because it seems like he's going to do like the roided out thing, and he's going to hurt her, and she's going to be like apologetic. Oh, it's not your fault. You were experimented on by the government.
This is going to be like Edward and Bella taken to an extreme, where he's like extreme stalker, and she's like extreme, I'll just like let you do anything to me.
Yeah.
Because you saved me. And
we're supposed to be okay with it. Like, she's a cop. She wouldn't let him do anything that wasn't okay. Well, he's already screaming in her face, I could kill you in like a minute or whatever he says. It was lame. And then she like runs off, and she did run really fast.
Well, to her credit, she did know when to run. I mean,
I don't know. This show could be interesting if she's the beast, but if they go traditional, I don't think it's going to be good. Canceled.
Yeah.
Cancel that shit.
If it's traditional, does it even make it the full half season, or is it like a 5 episodes and then
with the popularity of stuff like the Vampire Diaries and True Blood and Teen Wolf and all that shit, like, people want a creepy bestiality love story, and they didn't give it to us, and they could have.
Yeah, I
maybe they will try to cure him, but in doing so, they will make him worse.
Ooh, that would be a good twist.
Right? Hey, CW, call me.
What?
Have really good ideas. I can save your show.
It's already canceled. The executives already know.
The call's been made. Don't worry. They're going to replace it with... What else can they adapt? No, they've done Robin Hood. They've done Sherlock. Oh, it's going to be like The Aristocrats. The Aristocats? Only people.
Only people? Because I was going to say maybe it's going to be that terrible old joke. Did you ever see that movie about the documentary about that joke?
No. What are you talking about?
It's called The Aristocrats. And apparently it's like the dirtiest joke ever like invented, and all comedians have a version of it, and they all agree that it's like the most, because you can do so many things with it.
Mm-hmm.
The basic gist of the joke is that it's a family that like goes into some producer's office and says, we have a family act that we want to sell you. And, they proceed to do all these terrible things, I don't know, usually involving like fellatio on family members and,
oh, God.
German Scheiser porn and the various things. And at the end, the producer's just sort of like shell-shocked and numb. And, well, what do you call this? And the Aristocrats!
Oh, God.
Anyway, it's a very wonderful documentary, and I recommend that all of you still listening watch it because you'll laugh.
Yeah.
That's what I think of when I hear The Aristocrats. I'm just saying.
Okay, well, I was talking about the Disney one with the cats. Is that
The Aristocats. The Aristocats.
The Aristocats. Or something stupid. I don't know. Maybe I think that you would get more out of the Once Upon a Time Beauty and the Beast storyline, because I like the way that they do it. Mm-hmm. And also I really like what they've done with the Beast, because it's more into, he's not going to be cured. It's about someone getting to know. It's like the same thing with Damon. It's like you come to know the monster and realize why he is the way he is. Mm-hmm. And so you don't apologize for the way he is, but you understand it, and you can go beyond that and see something besides a monster.
Right.
It's frustrating because he doesn't get, he's one of the main characters, I would say, but it doesn't get as much time as you'd like. You spend a lot of time on bullshit stuff like Snow White, but whatever.
Yeah.
Just skip it.
Well, give it 6 months and there's a montage of here's all the Beast storyline, and you can watch it sequentially.
Plus, you'll be like, why am I so attracted to this dude?
Yeah.
Question yourself. You start to question yourself. It's like Disney brain. It gives you Disney brain.
I only question myself if he has boobs and looks like a woman.
But he does have really gross teeth.
Ooh, well, you know what? Actually, no, I say that. Look, British guys all have jacked up grills.
No, but it's like,
I don't mind it on them.
The makeup kind where they like cover it in black and green shit, and you're like, oh, it's good.
No, okay, that I can't do. Like, jacked up grill's one thing, but you gotta keep that shit clean.
No, man. It's like that's how his teeth are. That's just how his teeth are.
Like his teeth are made out of fungus?
Yes.
How does he eat flesh?
His skin is also kind of like weirdly metallic and shiny and gray. It's very weird. I can't tell you.
I might have to watch this now just to see.
I think it's the leather pants. And then he's kind of creepy. He's got like a Joker quality. He's just, I'm selling it, aren't I? You really want to watch it now.
Well, no, you know what you're selling? You're selling the sideshow curiosity. I want to see it. I want to see how I can possibly be attracted to someone like this.
And Belle, by the way, Belle is none other than the girl from Roswell that everyone hated, and the girl from Lost that everyone hated. The blonde girl, the Australian one.
Who I'm not sure I know.
Oh. Well, anyway, she looks really great as a brunette, and she's too pretty for him, but it works. And apparently she has absolutely no problem making out with fungus teeth.
Well, I don't know. Maybe she's Australian.
Yeah, she is.
Right. I mean, that's what I meant. I mean, she's Australian, so maybe that's okay over there. I don't know her life.
I don't know. You don't know what happened to her, man. A little fungus on your teeth ain't nothing to her.
Yeah, well, I mean, when your last boyfriend's is like roided out monster, like what's a little fungus in the teeth if he's a nice guy? I mean, come on.
That's why I like Catman. Cats keep themselves nice. They groom, look nice. They don't let anything get. They're good. They have that nice purring thing that they do. Catman. Yeah. I'm all for Catman as the boyfriend.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see why.
Well, anyway, that
any closing thoughts on this one?
Lady Cop and Ragey Face in Love. Lady Cop and Ragey Face in Love. No, I got nothing. It's just not as good as Lion Man and Shoulder Pads in Love. You know?
Yeah.
I sing that to myself all the time. I was like, Lion Man and Shoulder Bands of Love. You can do a lot with it. Good for like dish doing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, again, I don't know. I'll give it one more episode, like half an episode, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Skip the end.
Yeah. See if they're trying to make it like an episodic, mystery show, or if it's actually going to be a show about the plot, with the mystery being like not even secondary, but like tertiary or quaternary, But if it's a buddy cop show, again, I'm watching Castle. I don't need that. So it kind of needs to focus on the characters and their journey.
I think they have too many characters, so I expect a few early season deaths.
That could be interesting.
Yeah. Maybe she should die.
Yeah. Like, false alarm. This isn't the real Beauty. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
Or, like, then he meets some powerful strapping Gaston, or like, we killed the beast.
Oh, that must be who the Australian guy is. He must be Gaston.
He is.
He's kind of like a ladies' man, too.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, the only danger he represented was an STD, so,
Right. Well, she's got one of those, like, super slick, gross boyfriends in the original, and he ends up being, like, a huge gangster. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm all for them kind of subverting expectation and making her, like, the really shitty one and him the cool one.
Yeah, I would be okay with that. I would be interested in that.
I'm sure they would do that.
I just don't have any faith that that's what's going to happen. But,
Yeah. She's just mad she's not as pretty as Kit Harington.
Exactly. And with that, I think I need some more wine, so I'm going to go.
Bye.